Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. And before I get into the review of this knife, let me announce the Patreon winner for October, which is processed at the end of October, beginning of November. All my Patreon donators, supporters who support me for the month, I put their name into a list. Well, Patreon gives me the list. I do a number generator, random number generator at Google. I fixed the parameters. This month I had 33 supporters. So I got Google to give me a random number between 1 and 33. The number was 6. And I looked down the list, and the 6th person was Clement W. from France. Clement, you're the one who wins a knife that I reviewed last month. Basically your choice of whichever knife I reviewed. Last month I held back one knife, that I bought especially for my own collection, the Real Steel G5 Metamorph. Basically anything that I reviewed other than that in October, you get to pick from. And I like to be generous. I always give an extra prize as well that the winner doesn't know about. Well, they know they're going to get something, but they don't know what it's going to be. And I'll send that off to Clement as soon as he tells me which one he wants. So now we're going to take a look at this knife. This is my first Ultra X review, and I got to go settle Bandit down. My little dog Bandit loves to bark when he sees anything happening down the street. We're a little bit unfortunate in that regard. Our living room window goes right down to about 6 inches from the floor. So even though he's a little dog, he gets to look out over the street. And we live right at the end of a dead-end street, so he gets to look down the street. Anything that moves, he's going to start barking. This knife is the very first Ultra X knife that I've reviewed. I haven't seen other Ultra X reviews out there yet. Actually, I haven't looked in about 2 weeks. I don't actually watch that many knife reviews. I focus on doing my own testing and evaluating, and I like to review knives with an open mind of the knife itself. I've done 967. I think this is the 967th video. Soon it'll be 1,000, and it's my standard practice to do my own research and do my own work. This Ultra X knife, it's a brand new company from China in 2019. I saw them at Blade Show. So I got some from White Mountain Knives. They've got Ultra X knives right now, so you can get them there. And I put it on the table when I went and talked to get Bandit. This knife, the Ripple, is my very first review, and it's a decent EDC knife. I think you're going to want to watch this video because the price of these things is quite good. And LTK from Lee from Love Them Knives, LTK channel, he's having some of these tested to see if they're actually the same steel that they say they are. And until they're tested, we're going to assume that they are what they say they are. And this knife just feels really good, and it's got a great edge that cuts quite well. So I think you're going to want to stick around for the full review of the Ultra X Ripple coming at you right now. I found out some more information while I was editing, so I'm adding this in right now. I found that some stores have this knife with 440C, and some have it with D2. White Mountain Knives has D2. I found that Blades Canada, that's Warriors and Wonders, has them in 440C, but they're already in Canada, and they cost a little bit more even after the currency exchange. So pay attention when you're buying it if you're getting D2 or 440C. Now, the Ripple comes in more than just this OD green color, and I think there might even be different blade treatments. I think I saw a sort of a dark gray, not quite black wash, but a dark gray wash kind of blade treatment. There's various numbers of blade treatments. Atlantic Knife also has this knife, but White Mountain Knives is where I get my stuff from. They are a very good store. Enough of the advertising for them. This knife, well, let's do the size first. Size comparison. I like to compare knives with the Ontario Rat 1 because it's a common knife that a lot of people have. I like to line up the pivot pins. So as you can see, the blade sticks out a bit longer on the Rat 1, but the cutting edge length is very much the same. And that's because, this one's got a bit more knife ricasso out before the cutting edge starts. It's got a little bit of a forward choil here, though. And the handle's just a little bit shorter than the Rat 1. And classically, the Rat 1's got a long handle. Again, partly because, the handle starts, the grip area starts way back here, leaving a big area here that functions sort of like a forward choil if you want to sneak up. And just like this one's got sort of a functional forward choil as well. So there's the size comparison, similar in weight and those other dimensions as well. One of the unique things about Ultra X is I like what they did with their pivot pins. They are an X with, 4 dots around it. So you can't use a Phillips screwdriver in here because the X isn't at 90 degrees. So Phillips isn't going to work in here. Also, some people call it a star driver. But you can have spanners if you've got those spanners at the right distance for those 2 dots. So you could have those spanners to undo it. Or very simply, a flat screwdriver, a standard screwdriver, can work with this. I've done a lot of testing in terms of cutting performance and how good it feels in the hand while you're cutting, doing hard cutting if it gets hot in the hand, all that kind of stuff. I test all of the knives that I review for several days each, and this knife passed those comfort tests a lot. The grip, reverse grip is comfortable. Even a reverse is very comfortable. Very powerful to do pull cuts. Your arms are just built for this kind of action if you need to do a power cut. The lock release, it's got a nice little chamfer on it and works very well to easily release that lock when you want to. The action on these ball bearings is awesome. We've got jimping on the spine of the blade, jimping on the thumb rest area, and jimping right here on the handle. We've got milling done at various angles all across the handle. It's got a nice arch here that fits into the palm of the hand very well. We've got a small back spacer, which has got the inset lanyard hole as well. I really like it when lanyard holes are done this way, because, you put the paracord through here and it doesn't bulk up out the sides of the handle. So for those people who use lanyards, I think you appreciate this kind of thing. I tend not to use lanyards, so it doesn't make much of a difference to me. There's no skeletonizing on here, and the knife could be a little bit lighter if there was, but it's not heavy, in my opinion. It's just a tiny bit over 5 ounces. Not a problem. You can see the liners exposed everywhere. The blade shape now, we've got a bit of a rise up here, and then the blade drops. There's a swedge that starts right at the back and goes all the way to the tip. It gives the blade a good look, in my opinion. Satin finish, you can see the lines, satin lines across here. The brand name right here, Ultra X. I wish that was a little bit smaller. I don't like having too much of, names, advertising done on the knives themselves. Just like with the word Ripple, I wish they could have made that a little bit smaller. Maybe put D2 smaller as well and put both of those up there on the ricasso. Not a big deal. That's just a personal taste thing. It doesn't change the performance of the knife at all. The forward choil is helpful. I wish it was just a little bit bigger, or that the radius of this cutout was a little bit, larger as well, because this corner here by the heel of the blade, you can, when you grab it like this, nip the side of your finger there. But I haven't cut myself yet with it, so yeah, not a big deal. Full flat grind is what I'm calling it, because that's what it is. A lot of belly and just a short section here that I would consider flat. So for cutting purposes, this blade shape is very, very good. You've got a tip that is, pointy enough to be good for delicate cutting. And you can, pinch up, get a good grip on the knife this way if you need to do delicate work. And all the other grips that I was mentioning. One thing that I'm not terribly fond of is I don't like these pocket clips that much. They're okay when, you know, they're so low down the knife, but having these screws here and those screws on the pocket clip, it's very easy to grab this when it's in your pocket to pull it out. Well, when it's in my pocket. I haven't tried grabbing it from your pocket yet, but when it's in my pocket, it's easy to grab and pull out because of that. You've got just over 3/4 of an inch, about 2.5 centimeters of the, you know, pocket of the knife sticking out of your pocket. Hey, why don't I just demonstrate that right now instead of just yapping about it? You've got a very similar spoon shape here to the pocket clip that a lot of knives have, and it slides over the corner of the pocket, the edge of the pocket, very well. So here we go. The knife comes on here, and as you can see right away, it climbs over that, and then you've got the knife going all the way to the full depth. That part works very, very well. Good retention, good hand feel when you're pulling on it. You know, it's just a nice pocket clip. So now let's include the video of the knife when it's taken apart. So I used my screwdriver, one that fits perfectly in there. There's very little slop or play at all. So that works best. Get that if you can. Took the screw out. The other side here, the side with the pocket clip on mine, has the pivot pin that does not spin freely. Take this off. Steel, there you go, steel ball bearings in there, which is quite good. And there you go. Let's take this apart right here. Yeah, there you go. There's the side that's got the D shape right there, and that stops this pin from spinning freely. As you can see right there, it has a little bit of movement to it. So when you put your driver on there, if there's just a little bit of movement like this and then it stops, don't undo that side because you can't. You'll just chew up your screw head. That looks like a ceramic detent right there, and steel ball bearings. And like I said, no skeletonizing in there. And now it's time to do all of the dimensions and measurements and things. And while I'm talking about those things, this will be on the screen. So like I said, G10, D2, Rockwell hardness of D2 is usually around 60, 58 to 60, generally speaking, usually closer to the 60. A weight of 146 grams, which is 5.15 ounces, so not super heavy. The sharpness of the edge from the factory clocked in at 135 bes, which is very good. 200 is considered sharp. 135, yeah, that's sharp. Smaller numbers mean sharper. The cutting edge length is 8.53 centimeters, which is 3.39 inches. The blade length, just a bit more from the tip to the G10, 8.67 centimeters, 3.41 inches. The blade thickness is 3.39 millimeters. That's 0.133 of an inch, so just over 1/8 of an inch thick. The blade depth, that's this dimension here, and it's biggest right there where this drop point starts and the upsweep ends right here. 2.66 centimeters, 1.045 inches. The thickness of the edge right behind the grind, so where my thumbnail is touching the blade right here, 0.62 millimeters, which is 0.0245 inches. I wish it was closer to 0.5 millimeter instead of 0.62 millimeters, but not bad at all. Functionally, it still works. The grind angle, and let's see if I get this right. Yeah, on this side where it says Ultra X, this cutting edge was done at 18.8 degrees, so 1.2 degrees off of 20. And this edge here was done at 22.3 degrees, so 2.3 degrees off of 20, so not bad. Some knives are done a whole lot worse than this, and that's really what I'm talking about. Ultra X has not done a bad job with sharpening. Now for the handle length, 12.37 centimeters, which is 4.87 inches. The grip area, not including this forward choil, is 9.7 centimeters, 3.8 inches. That's more rounded. The thickness of the handle right here is 1.525 centimeters. That's 0.6 of an inch. So not bad, because there's a radius to the handle, and that's the highest point. It's, grip-wise, it feels more like 1/2 inch thick, which is very good. The handle depth, that's this measurement right here between my index and pinky. 2.78 centimeters, 1.09 inches. And when the knife is closed, You know, the full depth right there, 3.53 centimeters, 1.39 inches. And the total length of the knife when the blade's deployed from tip to the end of the handle, 20.9 centimeters, 8.23 inches. So that's the specs of the knife, and the specs are very standard for a full-size folder. It's not super big, but it's not, you know, small either. You know, very, very common of being just a little under 3.5 inches on the blade and just a little under, well, actually just a little over 4.5 inches on the handle. So very comfortable. The balance point on this knife is right there. So if they would have skeletonized it a little bit, then the balance point could be here instead of here. So this is softer steel. If you take the knife apart, you could drill out some of that handle scale a little bit and make it a little bit lighter back there and move the balance point up. Not a big deal. Functionally, in use, it feels very balanced. You know, not perfect, but it still feels, doesn't feel unusual or unwieldy at all. It's a good balance. Let's go over the price point. White Mountain Knives sells this for $33.99 US. After your 10% off, that's $30.59. So that's a good price for this. After the discount, that's roughly $40 Canadian, just under 28 euros, and just under 24 British pounds. So it's not a bad price for this knife. Of course, that's not including VAT, the VAT, value added tax for Europe. You guys have to pay a lot of taxes over there. And hey, well, we pay more for knives in Canada too. This is a US price that I put. Right now, White Mountain Knives, in my opinion, is the best place to get this, especially after your discount. So summarizing the pros and the cons, the pocket clip, it's neither a pro or a con. It's just, it's very good down here, and for some people, maybe not so good right there. The action, very good. Lockup is exactly where I want a knife to be. And there's lots of room for this lock arm to wear across over time. Lockup is solid, no blade play, side to side, up and down. Very good. Blade centering. What I talked about, the grip, very comfortable in any kind of grip. The lanyard hole is another pro. This forward choil, it's a pro, but it's not a super strong pro. It could have been done a bit better, but it's not bad. I like the pivot pins. Since the standard driver works in here, it's going to be easy to mess this up if you don't have the right size flat driver to loosen these up. Good jimping everywhere. It might be a little aggressive on the thumb rest here. It gets a little bit hot for my fingers right there a little bit. And this edge right here on the G10, you know, I think I would use some sandpaper and just round off the edge in this finger choil just to soften that up a little bit. That's not a pro and it's not a major con. You know, it's just something I want to mention. It's a very minor con right there. And so that pretty much summarizes the knife. So not bad. Ultra X, you guys have come out swinging. You've got a lot of designs that I find appealing, and I'll be reviewing more of them. Make some knives with thumb studs, please. I wish your company very well. If there's anybody from the company watching, Ultra X, I like what you're doing. There you go. Check out their website. Check out White Mountain Knives as well. The discount applies to anything from their store. And thank you so much for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. And remember, friends, when you're using a knife, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.